So welcome back to another Q&A session here on the YouTube channel. Now, I don't know what to call this because this isn't just asking questions and having one-word answers. Me and Abigail here are having a conversation, and she has pulled comments from Facebook, from Instagram, from YouTube, and she is asking questions that y'all have actually commented. And so I think we need something to call this little like chat session that we've started. I guess let's just go ahead and start, but please in the comments go ahead and let us know what you have in mind to call this. But Abigail?
Okay. First question. Is Van your real middle name?
No. It's not my middle name at all. Van Slyke is my last name. It's my maiden last name. So Van Slyke is Dutch. And if I'm correct, Van means from. So you'll see a lot of people like Dick Van Dyke, or like there's a lot of Van something or others. And why are we laughing at me?
You laughing at Dick Van Dyke?
That's his name. Do you know who Dick Van Dyke is?
I don't.
I do. I know who it is. I just this generation
Caught you off guard.
what a name.
It is a crazy
He's a very
name.
famous person.
No.
Okay, well, it's Dutch. It means from Slyke, I guess. And so I get that a lot, though. I get people asking me what my middle name is because they think it's Van, and it's actually Abigail, which is funny. So, no, it's not my middle name. Abigail is.
How did your parents come up with the name Running Springs?
They were running barrel horses at the time, and that's how they actually met. They met barrel racing. And so they got the running from that, but it also ties into the fact that the entire farm has springs, like natural springs all over it. And so there's some, like, have I taken you down to the racetrack?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, it used to be a racehorse farm, and so there's a quarter-mile track that's grassed over now, and it actually had starting gates on it and stuff when my parents bought it, and they're like, oh, sick, and then they came and got them, like, that week. But there's some there. There's some by each pond that's on the farm. Like, all the ponds are spring-fed. And then there's some up in the woods. Like, I'll have to show you when we're driving around next time. But, yeah.
On a
everywhere.
golf cart or...
Abigail has a hatred of the golf cart. We figured that out, that she is spoiled now and likes the AC of the side-by-side. So, no, we'll take the side-by-side so that you don't hate your life on my golf cart.
So, someone asked, what time do you start your morning routine? I'm just interested to hear your answer.
Not as early as a lot of people would think. I'm such a night owl, and so I stay up. No, I don't go to bed any earlier than 12 or 1, like, ever. And I do a lot of my, like, answering stuff on my phone or my computer really late at night. And so generally these days, because it's so hot out, we've been starting earlier. And so, like, you've been getting to my house at, like, 8. And that's about when
I have.
And that's about when I get up, honestly. And we, like, kind of our morning, like, talking about what the day is going to be, and then we go. But, like the last few weeks, we've started riding at the barn at 8:30 in the mornings. So
I'm taking 7 immediately after.
Yeah.
So.
So I'm not like an early riser. I never have been. It's very hard for me.
Sorry. What has been the scariest moment you've had on the farm?
Scariest moment? Probably when I broke my back. What happened was I was 18 years old, so that's crazy that that's been like 10 years ago. Maybe I was 17, so over 10 years. I had this little cow horse named Shorty that we had bred, and he was, I don't even know if he was 14 hands. Like, he literally was like Gracie. He was so small. And he got a late start because he was kind of on the back burner, like, no one had time for him. He was supposed to be a barrel horse, and then he was just so small and, like, not fast. And so I took it upon myself to break him, and that was my first time ever doing that. And he was actually getting, like, really good, and I got cocky and didn't lunge him one day, and it was in February, and it was very windy and all the things. And this was back when the arena had it was an outdoor arena. It didn't have any, like, enclosing, like it was panels. And he spooked at something as I was getting off of him. And so when I swung my leg off of him and I was putting my stomach over the saddle to like slide down, he spooked. And luckily, even though my foot did stay in the stirrup, I didn't fall backwards and get stuck. I fell over him. And so I was on my stomach, like, okay, like this is the horse. I was like over top of him. And he ran around the arena and I'm just like screaming and trying to like get him to stop.
Your foot was still in that thing?
Yeah, but luckily I got that free. But he, like, let's say he was running around this and I'm over him. He like ducked in. And so I flipped over on the other side and landed on my back it was quarter, because it was an outdoor arena, it was like really packed quarter down, which is like small gravelly type stuff mixed with sand. And so I had gravel embedded in my back. I broke my transverse process and was in a back brace for graduation and prom. And
How embarrassing.
yeah, it was, honestly. It was terrible. And then I still have back problems because I needed to qualify for the world show, and so I kept riding like in my back brace. Like,
Could be why you still have back pain.
Probably.
Do you have any other scary moments that you think would come close to that?
Do you think, are you thinking of one in your head?
I'm actually not. I'm just curious. Because I feel like I already knew about that. I didn't know like the whole story of how it happened.
Right.
But I'm like,
That's when I feel like I felt most scared.
oh, also the fertilizer truck, you said.
Oh my gosh, yes, I will never. So I had flashbacks today because we had the fertilizer truck going through the fields, and our farm is very hilly, uneven. And so when I was probably around the same time, like late teenager, usually someone gets in the truck with the fertilizer driver and tells them where to go, where we want fertilized. And it's 300 acres, so it takes a while to cover it all. And it's like I wouldn't call it mountainous, but I mean, Tennessee is Tennessee's really hilly. And so I think my biggest fear is honestly flipping a vehicle or turning over or whatever. And so I was terrified the entire time.
There's a comment that says, just stop using those animals if you actually care about them. It's really illogical considering it is a farm that gains profit off of their torment and misery. What would you have to say about that?
Wow. I think if you look at any of my animals and think they're in torment or misery, you probably need to like have your eyes checked. They're so well taken care of. You don't even know how much I just spent today on my horses that don't even get ridden on their chiropractic work. I had a chiropractor out for my horses that aren't even being ridden to make them feel better.
You wouldn't say they're being tormented?
No, I wouldn't. I think that's stupid.
Do you
Yeah.
Nate said, ask it. But we're not going to
Move on.
Explain a little bit about your family's history with the farm. They said they see your grandpa help sometimes too. Mm-hmm. Is he also a part of like the farm life and everything?
So my pap, which is my dad's father, was very involved with the early years of Running Springs. So Running Springs wasn't my parents' first farm where they had cows and horses. They actually started out at a different farm in Thompson Station, and that was called Battle Mountain. And so at that farm, which is where I was born, my pap was very involved with the cattle and helping with the upkeep of the farm and whatnot. Now, when we moved here, he loves to help with hay, that kind of, he loves to, every now and then come down with the cows. But really my parents took it such a step further with the horse breeding, with the cattle breeding, with the operation of the farm, that they didn't really grow up in that. Neither one of them grew up on like a working cattle farm or a working horse farm. They both had the horse bug and the farm animal bug kind of out of nowhere. So they had you know, they had parents that, like my mom got a pony when she was little on there. They had 10 acres. And so they had a pony. My grandmother on my dad's side, she loved horses, but it wasn't like a breeding operation or whatever. So that was definitely them that started it.
Someone else asked what the first pet that you ever got was, or animal that you got was. Was it a horse?
Yes, actually. I grew up in a household where we always had like 5 dogs at a time. But specifically for me, I think I was 8 months old. My mom could not stand it that I didn't have a pony and like yet, because they had horses, but she wanted so bad to get me a pony that she like rushed. So I was 8 months old, and she went to, I think it was Watertown, Tennessee, to like a horse sale, and found this little skinny pony, and she was a Welsh Shetland mix, I think, and her name, I called her Baby because that was the only word I could say, and so her name was Baby, and she was a little bay pony, and they didn't know at the time she was pregnant, and so like months later they just walked out in the field and there was a little baby out there, and so she had a little gaited baby, so that she must have been bred by like a walking horse or something, a little gaited black filly named Lily Mae, and then I showed lead line on her, and after that, because we had brought her to this area, and there's so many horse people in this area, that she became like this little kids first pony that got passed around. So there's so many people that I'm connected to through the fact that they had Baby as their first horse too, and she actually just passed a couple of years ago. So yeah, she was really neat.
So she was how old?
Had to have been in her 30s when she passed, which is not that uncommon for ponies, because it's kind of like, you know how little dogs live longer than big dogs? Mm-hmm. Kind of same thing for little horses and little ponies. So she's old.
Can people come and visit your farm?
No.
Elaborate on why.
It's just gotten to the point we have to shut that down. We've had people trespass. We've had people, and it's kind of the point where, you know, a long time ago, it was easy to be like, oh, like this family wants to come out, like we can maybe make that work. But that, you know, once the following grew so much that if I open it up one little bit, it would be very hard to close that door again. And we have such liability here on the farm. It's a working farm. So there's constantly equipment being run. There's horses that I, you know, have to insure that I wouldn't want, you know, people that I don't know interacting with. And it's also just that we have to live our lives here. And so we can't just have people that we don't know out on our property with animals, with equipment. There's just so much that could go wrong. There's so much we could get sued for. There's so like it's just we can't do it. So unfortunately, no. You know, I have toyed with the idea of maybe having an open house weekend, like the place where I keep Waylon, like High Point does. And I think that might be something that happens in the future, where it's like one weekend out of the year and we have a certain amount of tickets and, you know, something like that. It would take a lot of planning and I don't know. We'd have to figure that out. But I'm not saying no to that.
When will Jonathon get his dog?
Good Lord. Okay. Jonathan has a dog, and her name's Kimmy, okay? It's the light of his dang life.
And Winnie.
And Winnie. Kimmy is the light of his dang life, though, okay? This little 5-pound dachshund. I made a post the other day being like, oh my gosh, I'm at that point in my life finally where I don't want puppies all the time. When I was a kid, you couldn't tell me that I'd ever get to that point, that I'd ever be like, no, I don't want a puppy, ever. But I'm there. We have a 3-year-old dog and a 5-year-old dog. That is perfect. They're like they're like self-sufficient at this point, you know, like I can leave the house. I don't worry about them. I'm not taking them out in the middle of the night. And so in that video, for like 3 seconds, I was like, yeah, Jonathon mentioned a third dog. I didn't say he was begging for one or that he wanted one. And I was like, no, can't have one. I just said, you know, absolutely not. We are totally good, because, you know, getting horses and things, they're in the barn. They're not in my house. I'm not physically, like, they're not on top of me at night when I'm watching TV. And so everyone flipped out on me, being like, wow, really disappointed in you. I can't believe he lets you get all these animals and you won't get him a dog. Wow. really showing your true colors here, Katie.
The
And I'm
people
like,
love Jonathan.
they do, and I do too. But you know what? Like, if you saw the amount of four-wheeled things he gets all the time, you would not feel sad for him.
With the question you sent me,
I think we go.
do you think this is a good stopping point?
Hold on, my new spy watch tells me I have a text message, and it says Charlotte's Bloodwork.
Breaking news.
Hold on.
Live from the Q&A.
Charlotte's Bloodwork came back with a slightly increased white blood cell count, so they were putting her on antibiotics. Can I see my phone so I can actually message them back? This is like a time-sensitive thing. I got to tell them what antibiotics I want her on. I'm so glad we put her in quarantine. Like, that's why they go in quarantine, because they come with all kinds of crap.
So what do you think that means?
She said she didn't have any, like, lymph nodes feeling like she had strangles or anything, which is, like, really contagious. She probably just picked up something that needs a little antibiotics. It's probably nothing serious, but we're sending it out as, like, a panel to just, like, make sure.
Okay, last question. What is the most important piece of advice you would give now to your younger self?
That's a serious question.
It's Nate's question.
To chill out, because it's all going to be fine. Because I grew up with such anxiety, and I was such like in a ball of stress all the time over stuff that I should not have been stressing it about. And there are so many things that I hated going through that had I not done that, I would not be where I am today. And so if I could just tell myself that it's all going to be fine, and everything you're going through is making you into the person that you literally dream of being. Like, not necessarily like me being perfect. I'm not. There's so much stuff I need to work on. But like, my job right now is what 7th grade Katie would pass out if she found out that I was doing this. You know, it's like I am living my younger self's dream at this moment. And so I had such a hard time with coping with stress and coping with anxiety, and just feeling like a ball of like I can't even contain how worried I am over everything all the time. And if I could just like save myself from that, that would be probably the best thing. So like, just everything's gonna be fine, you know? Chill out.
Yeah, it's good advice.
Yeah, just
So,
I don't know. I think the awkwardness of this video is gold.